Okay.
Okay. My name is Harold Tian in the Diocese of Honduras. My wife and I went there soon after ordination, and I had two congregations and a school, and my wife taught English. And we've been in many places in the world doing ministry, including the United States, England, and Africa, especially South Africa. I'm the rector emeritus of Calvary Church, Pittsburgh. I used to tease people and say emeritus comes from two Latin words, ex meaning out, and meritus meaning deserve to be, you know. But I had 16 wonderful years as rector of Calvary Church from 1996 until 2012. I happened to be the first African American to hold the post. The parish was founded in 1855. While I was there, we had a little, what we call recent unpleasantness with the Bishop of Pittsburgh, who wanted to secede from the Episcopal Church, and did, but he wanted to take all the assets of the church with him. We thought this was legally questionable, to say the least, and so we sued him in open court and prevented him from doing it. So when he left, he wasn't able to take the assets of the diocese that he had hoped. I told that story in this book here called The Recent Unpleasantness, how Calvary Church preserved what did I call it? Preserve the Episcopal Church in the Diocese of Pittsburgh. I have written 7 or 8 books to date. This one, Christian Social Witness, it says volume 10. It's the Episcopal Church's teaching series, and mine was on Christian Social Witness, the outreach, and so on of the church. And this talked about the major issues that the Episcopal Church has dealt with in the past several years, including race, gender, sexuality, civil rights, and so on. And I wrote that, and that was part of a series. My most recent book, which we're launching this week, is called It Is Well With My Soul. It Is Well With My Soul is the name of a hymn, which is very popular in the church. And these are this is a book of sermons, sermons preached at funerals, many at Calvary, but some as far away as London, people I've known. There are 3 sections of the book. There are mentors, people that I grew up under and learned from, seasoned priests and bishops. The second section is called Matriarchs, which is the story of several sermons from several funerals of women at Calvary Church. And the last section is called All Sorts and Conditions of Men. And we have several sermons I preached about men, some famous in Pittsburgh, like Dwight White and Henry Hillman, and Paul Ross, who's a great musician from the Pittsburgh Symphony, William Wesley Posewar, who's Chancellor of Pitt. All these people had the privilege of preaching. John Craig, too, the editor of the Post-Gazette. And so this book is not only the book of sermons, but has an introduction which talks about what the purpose of a funeral sermon is. A lot of people think you shouldn't say anything about the deceased, be anonymous. Some might call that a to whom it may concern sermon. Some people give you so much praise about the person that he or she is not even recognizable by the congregation. My emphasis is on resurrection and faith in the resurrection and hope of the resurrection, and how we give hope to the people who come to funerals, as well as to families and to the deceased themselves. So, and people have responded very positively.
So, tell me a little bit about your career and what sticks out the most in your mind about your career. What likes, dislikes?
I I consider myself a decent preacher, and that is probably my favorite pastime in the priesthood. I believe as somebody, I think it was Augustine said, a good sermon challenges the challenges the intellect, warms the heart, and motivates the will. I try to do all those things in sermons, and I've enjoyed encouraging people for the ministry. I've preached a lot of ordination sermons, and I've enjoyed what you might call missionary work. Began my ministry in Honduras, as I said. I spent a lot of time teaching at seminaries in South Africa and elsewhere in Africa, including Mozambique and the Congo. I consider myself ordained for the whole world, not just a local segment of the church.
So, what made you get into the church and become a pastor?
That's in some ways an easy question. I grew up in a church, a big Episcopal church, mostly black people in Brooklyn, New York, called St. Philip's. And I was the head of a group called the YPF, the Young People's Fellowship, which later became Episcopal Young Churchmen. And what we did was to raise money for our outreach programs. We served breakfast to the parish every Sunday morning for $1.25. But good breakfast. And one day, 3 people didn't pay. The 3 priests in the parish, they all came and ate for nothing. And so one of them said to me one morning, "What do you want to do with your life?" And I said, "I want to be an interpreter at the United Nations." And he said, "Have you ever considered the priesthood?" And I laughed out loud. I said, "No, Father, I'm not cut out for that type of thing." And his answer was, "God doesn't choose the worthy. He makes worthy those whom he chooses." I said, "Not a bad line." So I began to think, and we had a series of conversations, and I was trying to fight it and get out of it, but eventually succumbed. And so after high school, Father McFarland, who was a priest who directed me in this direction, recommended I go to McGill University in Montreal, where he had gone, and then eventually went through the ordination process, and here I am.
So, recent scandals in the church. I mean, how does that make you feel?
Upset and disturbed, but one person said, "We know the church is holy because left to the devices of the people in it, it would have self-destructed years ago." Somehow, and churches are not perfect institutions because they're made up of people who are imperfect, you and me and everybody else. As Augustine said, or like Augustine, a church is not a hotel for saints; it's a hospital for sinners. So scandals are unfortunate, but they're almost to be expected because we are scandalous people who are not perfect in the eyes of God.
What would you say to the youth to encourage them to find God or their religion or to go to church?
I'd say go. Number one, come to church. Check it out. If you don't like one church, go to another. There's enough choices around, and because you can't criticize it from afar, and get involved. And some people complain because the church didn't give them anything. The music wasn't good enough. The preaching wasn't good enough. The architecture was somehow not up to snuff. Better yet, you should come and see what you can contribute to the church to make it a better place. I, for one, could not imagine life without church. My mother, who recently died, said, I don't know what people do, people who die, everybody dies, what do people do who don't have a church to go to? Because she knows every time somebody has died in our family, the church, ministered to you, and made casseroles and visited you and prayed for you and got you through these rough periods. And that's what the church does. The church is there to strengthen you in times of stress and loss.
So you've written 10 books. Where can seven? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You're in 7 books. So where can people find your books that are watching this and want to order a book or buy a book off you?
2 recommendations. The most recent books, including these, can be found at the Calvary Episcopal Church bookstore. I think we're the only bookstore left, religious bookstore left in the city. 315 Shady Avenue, 6610120. Failing that, all of the books, just about, can be found on Amazon.com.
And they would look up the author, which is you, which would
Right.
be Harold T. Lewis.
Right. And there are a few Harold Lewis's around, so make sure we put the initial in.
Right, cool.
And you can then contact the Amazon. They'll send the books to you.
Cool. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And we're going to show the books that you got right here today.